Welcome back to the channel. Thank y'all for hanging with me. And that's a big old spotted bass. So I'm fishing with my buddy today and he's dragging a drop shot around. He caught one. That's a decent spot. I don't know, right under 2 pounds. Bigger than I typically catch on a spinner bait. So my buddy is dragging a drop shot behind the boat. He catches the best fish we've had all day. I picked up a Texas rig, caught the best fish I caught all day the next cast. And we got a lot of wind on this spot, so cover a little bit of water going this way with the spinner bait, and then I'll probably come back through flipping. But I wanted to kind of fish this area a couple different ways because I feel like it's still kind of early, but I feel like most of the fish are probably spawning with the full moon, the warm water, but they've had floods here. We're on Lake Hamilton in Arkansas, and if you've been watching the weather or heard anything about Arkansas lately, lots of flooded rivers and lakes. So for that reason, high water. So that is one thing that will deter bass from spawning, is if the water levels are just crazy. But I think they've kind of relaxed. You can tell the water still has a lot of the remnants from the flood in it, but it's chilling out. The water's clearing up. It's definitely clear enough to catch them, but you see the spinnerbait I'm throwing, white and chartreuse, white trailer, that orange kicker blade, and a big number 7 gold Indiana on a day where there's really not a cloud in the sky. So it is still muddy water. I'm catching a mix of spotted bass and largemouth. But I think you still have fish that are pulling up, and then you have some fish that are already locked in. Same type of area. The boat's sitting in 8 feet of water. We're throwing into 2 feet, bringing it down that slope. And there's a lot of little drains coming into this little spawning area. So it seems like every time we get around a drain, everything that's been up on the bank, the wood, has all washed in. A lot of cover in the water. Lake Hamilton, when you get to the part of the lake that's been developed, not a ton of cover. So we've kind of went to a little bit more of the non-developed part of it. There's a lot of laydowns, a lot of cover in the water. If you can see up on the bank, it tells you everything you need to know about what's in the water. So there's a lot of smaller limbs, smaller trees down. That's basically what we have all through here. So a lot of spawning habitat, a lot more than you have on the part of the lake that has houses on it. So kind of where we decided to fish. We spent some time around those houses and caught little ones, but it was super random, not consistent at all. This is kind of forming into a little pocket. So we're gonna fish out towards the main lake, and then we're gonna turn around and come back. But those 2-pound spotted bass, on a day like today, they sometimes will help you big time fill out your bag. But I definitely think the better fish are spawning, and flipping is going to be the easiest way to catch them. And I've never been to this lake. This is my first day I've ever been here, but it's the easiest time of year to break down a lake is during the spawn. So you know where the fish are going to be. You know, they're going to be 5 feet or less. You just got to figure out what trajectory the banks are that you're fishing, what you need to look for cover. You need to be up the lake, down the lake. And it's a lot of dragging. We've thrown Ned rigs, we've thrown drop shots. The drop shot is what keyed us in on this little stretch, but I caught my best fish today on a Texas rig. So I think this whole bank could be good, but I think the little sweet spots are probably from where we had that last bite to the back of the pocket. But we'll just keep this honest. We'll fish this pretty quickly. My buddy's still back there dragging the drop shot, so he's keeping anything that's on the bottom. But that water's very dirty. I think if it cleared up another couple feet, then the drop shot would probably be even more effective in something like this. Because you can see up on the bank, there is wood almost everywhere, but it's a lot of those smaller limbs. So that drop shot comes right through it. Unless you don't get your bait hung in like a really big tree, You know, that drop shot's going to come through that wood. He's got his drop shot rigged up with that robo worm rebarb. You can rig it Texas style, so it's fairly weedless. It's not super weedless, but it's weedless enough. The more out we get to the bank, or out to the middle of the lake, rather, I feel like this is going to be more your pre-spawn. It's a little bit less protected. I mean, fish could still spawn right in here, but it's a little bit rocky. I'm going to turn the boat around. We're going to go back. Here, I'll come underneath you. You're good. We're going to fish with the wind going back in there. I got kind of an idea what we're looking at here, and I can really just kind of settle down and fish slow with this Texas rig. I think a lot of times when you get into these areas where you know this is where you need to be and you want to spend a lot of time on it, 3 or 4 different baits. You know, you can make a pass down it with a spinnerbait if you have a bunch of wind. You know, a square bill wouldn't hurt in here either. A chatterbait. My buddy's got one on right now. Let's get him in there. Lake Hamilton bass on the drop shizzle. Another spotted dog. So he caught his first Arkansas bass, his first drop shot bass, or his first spotted bass. That's a different bass than that's a spot. First one was a largemouth. That's not a largemouth. That's a spotted bass. They're all so pale, they all look about the same. How important it is to have someone in the back of your boats. A lot of times you can just buzz through an area. I probably wouldn't have caught anything, but he's got that drop shot in there shaking. Telling us that there's fish in here, and then you can slow down, fish however you want to fish. And I've been beat by that drop shot enough times to know better to not throw it, but I'm a Florida guy, so I got a lot of confidence in this Texas rig. Did I set the camera good up? Good? Is it on me? Let's see if we can get another bite. But this time of year, like I said earlier, it's the easiest time to learn a new lake. You know, in 3 weeks, a month, these fish may all be gone shallow, and it may be a brush pile deal. They're going to be in that post-spawn funk. We've seen a lot of balls of fry, so they're definitely getting it done here. But with this water temp, a full moon, still April, there's definitely a lot of fish that are just getting here. So I feel like this is the best thing to be doing on the lake. When you get into April, you can still pre-spawn fish and do really well that way, but you just got to know that less and less fish are going to be in those pre-spawn schools. So, and you know, this type of fishing is going to tell you a lot about what's going on in this part of the lake. So January, February, you could probably come into these type places, get out a little bit deeper, throw a jerkbait on this bank, throw a jerkbait out on that point. So it tells you a lot about the populations of fish. But the month of April, I mean, I want to flip and stick in my hand I want a Texas rig with some type of creature bait, and I want to be pitching at laydowns. And this same type of bite could go down earlier in the year. It's just less fish are doing this. But we did see bait. That was the first thing we noticed when we got into this pocket. There was bait flickering around through a spinner bait. Started throwing a spinner bait and started getting some bites, little fish. Then he picked up the drop shot and kind of showed us that there was a little different size class in here than what we had been catching. But this is Lake Hamilton in Arkansas. We're on a little vacation. Towed the boat out here. I thought I'd be just shaky heading and Ned rigging and wacky rigging around the bank, but you never really know what to expect. I got the same rod and reel combo that I was throwing at Gunnersville last week. Basically doing the same thing, pitching to wood. So April, you can go pretty much anywhere in the country. A small creature bait, Texas rig. This much wind, I like a 3/8 and pitch it around, and you might have to venture away from different parts of the lake and go up the river and get down by the dam and try everything, but pretty consistent springtime pattern. And most of the time, not today, because that spotted bass kind of gave it up, but most of the time on lakes that don't have spotted bass, or if you are really in the middle of the spawn, you can come through this area with a chatterbait or a spinnerbait and not catch anything, and you could get 4 or 5 bites on a Texas rig. So it's very important this time of year to be flipping whenever you get somewhere shallow. You can fish as much as you want with the chatterbait and all that, but you have to slow down and drag something a lot of times because it's so easy to fish over these fish. You know, they're guarding a small little bed, and unless you have your bait in there, a lot of times that swim jig, chatterbait, all that stuff's not going to work. So, and I can't really see what I'm pitching at. You know, I'm basically just flipping, trying to cover everything. That's the key. And then just slowly moving that bait. I'm feeling pieces of wood down there. That 3/8 is really helping me feel it in all this wind. Just meat and potatoes, springtime, as simple as it gets fishing, but so easy to think, oh, you got a bunch of wind, I'll just spinnerbait through here. I think I've done that too many times where you found the right area, you just weren't doing the right thing. Hopefully I can get another bite. We're getting close to where we had some of those other bites, so we should be back near the juice. It's a little bit more protected. And again, I think the topography of this spot is key. We're in 8 foot, so I know bass aren't spawning behind us. They're all going to be right from us to the boat, or us to the bank rather, and us to the bank is a short flip. So when we get into those backs of the pockets and get super shallow flats, oh damn, pantsed me. When you get into those flats, I got one rigged up with a 4/0 and I got another one rigged up with a 3/0. I might go back to that 3/0 because I know this lake doesn't have a whole lot of giant fish in it. But anyways, when you get into 5 feet of water and you're up, you know, you're still 50 yards away from the bank, you know, there's a lot of guesswork. You're really pecking around. Here, I know they're going to be right in between us and the boat. Or right, excuse me, the bank. I don't know why I keep saying boat. Right in between us and the bank. So here's hopefully a tip that'll help you guys catch some more fish. I like a straight shank flipping hook, and I like it in a 4/0 most of the time, but sometimes, especially bedding fish, they get weird. They can't get that 4/0 in their mouth good. So I also keep a 3/0 rigged up. And a lot of times that 3/0 just gets those little bit smaller fish, or gets those ones that are just biting it kind of weird. So I'm gonna turn the boat back around and flip over where I just had that bite. But yeah, this is, because I play with the extra wide gap a lot. I think for flipping, you know, there's a lot of hooks you can use. I like a straight shank and I like an EWG, but I'm usually always, unless I'm punching, always a 4/0. I like a 3/0 when I'm punching, and I know some guys would probably have a 4/0 and a 5/0, but recently I started playing with this 3/0, and I've been landing some fish that I don't know if I would have landed with a 4/0. So I just missed that fish with a 4/0. He was biting it weird. I never could really feel the weight of the fish, and I kind of yanked on him too soon. Let's see if I can catch him with the... I don't know if I'm in the bed or not. There's only like a foot of visibility. It's super dirty water. And I pitched a different bait in there, which might not have been the right thing to do. I've been fishing a Yum Woolly Hog Crown. I switched to a Gambler Stinger, a little bit different. Which may not have been smart. Make a couple more casts. I might have messed that one up. My buddy probably would have caught it with the drop shot if I didn't feed him that creature bait. But try that, guys. If you're fishing a lake where you're getting a ton of bites and you know a lot of them are little fish, and you like a 4/0 straight shank flipping hook, try that 3/0 too, especially on some of these smaller baits like a Z-Craw Junior, you know, a baby brush hog. You can't really put a 4/0 in some of those baits. You know, a lot of times when those fish pick it up and the hook is too big for the bait, it'll kind of turn the hook. I think I messed this one up. All right, guys, well, I think we're going to continue to do this, but here's the deal. If you want to go somewhere you've never been before, you have no idea how the lake sets up, how the fish bite, what they bite, where they live, this is the time of year to plan those trips and go do it. If you really want to learn, you may have your tournaments on this lake in the fall or in the summertime, and it's going to be completely different. They're going to leave all these shallow areas for the most part and go out and get on brush and go chase shad into the backs of creeks and all that. But you can learn so much about where fish live, the population of fish this time of year, because again, they all have to go shallower than 5 feet. So try a Texas rig always in the month of April. You may be catching some, doing some other things, but this is going to help you put a lot more fish in the boat if you slow down in those areas where you're getting bit. Try that, guys. Good luck to you, and I'll see you on the water.